G'day folks, it's the Meeple Monkey here, and I've got another unboxing for you today. So this is Viscounts of the West Kingdom and the West Kingdom Tome Saga, a little expansion that came with that, and I've got some coins here as well. So Viscounts is the latest game in the trilogy. It's the last game in the trilogy of the West Kingdom, put out by Garphill Games. Shem Phillips and I think there's another guy who works with him on these ones. Oh, sorry about the glare there. Yeah, S.J. McDonald, I think Sam McDonald. Couple of, I think they're both Kiwis, but we won't hold that against them. But yeah, a couple of Kiwi designers who've been putting out some very well-received, high-quality games. They had a, I'm sure everyone who's watching this already knows this, but yeah, the North Sea trilogy was fantastic, and especially I think in that series the Raiders was particularly popular. I quite liked Explorers as well, but the West Kingdom they followed that up with, and that's been sort of even more popular. So Architects of the West Kingdom and Paladins of the West Kingdom were both very well received, and this is the latest one. So Viscounts, it continues on. It's a 1 to 4 player game, so 60 to 90 minutes there. But yeah, all of these games in this series, at least the West Kingdom, have been you can play them solo up to I think 4 players. I think some of them also with expansions and stuff allow you to play with a few extra players as well. But yeah, so we'll check this one out. But just before we do, I'll just have a quick look at this one, the West Kingdom Tome Saga. I think what this does is it adds some like a campaign sort of system if you have all 3 of the games, so you can sort of play them in order. But also I think it adds like a cooperative mode for each of the games too. So it just gives you some different alternative play modes there. So we'll have a look at that in a little bit. All right, let's crack into Viscounts of the West Kingdom. Bit sort of hesitant to describe what it's about here, just with what's on the back here. There is sort of like I guess like a rondel of sorts that you play around, and a bit of a like a card management, hand management sort of game as well. But yeah, we'll have a look at it. Okay, art as always by the Miko. Very distinctive style. I think that's how you pronounce it anyway, the Miko. Viscounts of the West Kingdom. Here we go. So this is the rulebook. So same size box, same size rulebooks as always. A little bit too small for me. I prefer the the big sort of ticket to ride size boxes. But yeah, this is good. So let's have a look. So we've got solo play rules in the back here. Yeah, it goes into a lot of detail. I'm sure that's all pretty good. This series of games tends to have a pretty good rulebook, fairly well explained, and a lot of the iconography is sort of shared across from game to game. So once you've sort of played a couple of these games, you sort of start to sort of be able to tell what's happening. Now this is sort of a bit of a central piece in this game. So there's sort of like city walls, sort of like a central keep here, and I think there's almost like a little mini game to this where you're sort of moving your characters in towards the center, and almost like a little bit of an area control sort of game in here. And I think whoever's in the center gets a lot of points at the end or at the end or something like that. So that's quite cool. We might have a look at that in a little bit. The meeples. Okay, so we've got looks like meeples in a few different player colors: red, yellow, blue. Green, orange. Oh no, this is looks like some sort of resources. So yeah, these different player colors here. So you can see here some stone. And we've got I'm guessing gold or some sort of something there. I'm guessing that's gold. Okay, we've got some black and white pieces. These ones, oh, that's interesting, stuck together. Hopefully we can, yep, there we go. What have we got there? Oops, fingernails are getting a bit long again. Little priest or something, or a little adventurer or something. A little funny hat. Or is that like a little ink bottle? Not sure. All right, let's have a look in these player pieces. So we have some sort of building. So a few different types of buildings here. So you can, I'm guessing you sort of build buildings out on the board, and they give you sort of different bonuses depending on which one you build. Looks like some generic sort of player pieces. Fairly similar shape to the other West Kingdom games. Yeah, there's another one of those. So there's probably, you can probably build a few of each building. Looks like a little horse guy here. So I think this is the one that sort of travels around on the board, on the rondelle with you. That's quite cool. It's a nice one. I think that sort of represents your Viscount and maybe your sort of workers. Okay, yeah, excellent. So you have those repeated again in those different player colours. And they do give you plenty of baggies here for these pieces. These games do tend to, I mean, I haven't seen this yet, but these games do tend to be quite hard to fit back in the box once you've punched everything out and bagged everything up. They tend to be bulging at the seams. We'll see if this is the same with this one. But there are a few other, I mean, I think they do, if you want to support the company, I think the company sort of puts out a big box, at least for the North Sea trilogy, so I wonder if they'll do one for the West Kingdom. I imagine they probably will, but there's lots of other sort of third-party, you know, Folded Space and places like that do pretty good inserts for these, so I quite like the Folded Space myself. Okay, so let's have a look here. We've got some tomes here with some different bonuses or artifacts there, so that's interesting. Okay. What are we? And we sped through these, didn't we? Sorry, sort of talking. So this is the main board. So I think you sort of put this together, a bit of a puzzle sort of nature to it. And sort of, yeah, so it's sort of, these are the different sort of parts of the wheel that is the board, I guess. And I believe you follow, so these paths along here, you actually follow these paths, so you can move from this spot to this spot, or maybe you can move sort of from here down to there following these arrows. So yeah, interesting. This looks like it's a sort of spot for cards or something like that. So yeah, that's interesting. What do we got here? We've got some pieces here that look like they sort of might connect in here. I've got a feeling they might sit inside that grey sort of castle thing we saw before, or the city walls. We'll just punch a few of these out and see if we can prove ourselves right. Let's get that out again. Jumping all over the place. Let's have a look here. Yeah, I think these sort of fit in here or something. Yeah, I'm not going to mess with that too much in case I put them in the wrong spot and then can't get them out. It feels a bit tight, but I think that's where you're supposed to put them in, then you probably don't need to pull them back out again. Okay. The player boards, little thin, but nice and glossy, and I suppose we don't want to overstuff the box that's already pretty full, so, but yeah, big chunky player boards might be a bit of a problem there. But yeah, this is the main sort of player board. This is where you're going to be sort of spending a lot of your time concentrating on your turn. So down here you have, this is sort of like a track. You have your deck of cards here. You'll start with a sort of a standard deck, and you play your cards out on this tableau turn to turn, and the cards sort of travel turn by turn down the row and then off the end of the line there. And so whilst they're out, you get any ongoing bonuses or maybe instant bonuses, and also they have these little icons on the cards. So they've got some pre-printed icons here, so that in your first turn, when you've only got one card here, you've also got some access to some other icons, but they'll get covered up as the cards move along. Yeah, so this sort of keeps going this way, and as you get more cards into your deck, you sort of reshuffle them, I guess, and so you'll have a more interesting sort of tableau building sort of deck as you go through the game. Up here, this sort of tracks your, I think it's virtue and corruption. So you'll have a little white counter and a little black counter here, and they travel in towards each other. And when they meet in the middle, the person who causes them to meet looks at their board and gets whatever bonus is up here. So if if they meet up this end, you're going to get a lot of debt cards. If they meet down this end, you're going to get a lot of deed cards. Sorry, my voice is going there a little bit. Also, you get some coins and things like that. So obviously, the further down one end, the more extreme cards you get more of them. If you want a bit of a balance, you can try and meet in the middle here. And then you also have a look at the bottom down here, because then when they clash, all the other players, so the people who didn't trigger the clash, they look at this track here. So if the clash happens up this end, if any of the other players have no skulls or something on their cards or something, they get sort of bonus virtue pushes on their own tracks, or they might get some cards, or they might get to rearrange some of their cards on their tableau. Whereas if the clash happens down this end, then all the other players check to see if they have those skull symbols, I think, and if they do have any of those skull symbols, then they either get cards or they push the corruption marker on their own track up as well. So there's a bit of a push and pull balance here, and I guess I think the game end trigger is something to do with running out of these cards. So I guess the more you're sort of going up and down this track and triggering this, the more you're racing towards the end game. Up here, this sort of explains what you do in your turn sequence. So I think first thing you do is you play your card down, and then that card will tell you how much movement you've got. So you move your character around the rondelle. At that point, you can choose to dismiss by paying gold, dismiss one of the character cards off the board here, off one of these spots here. Then you can do one of these main actions. So you can use your money bag symbols on your character cards or tableau to do some trading actions on the board. So these spots here, trading into different things. You can do a building action where you place a building out on these spots, get those bonuses, but also remove them from these spots here. So the buildings will be sitting here, and as you remove them, they give you bonuses, as well as a bit of a point scale thing here as well. But as you can see, they get quite expensive with the building prices there. This symbol here, I think, is for doing those city walls. I think you, depending on how many of these icons you have saved up, you can put out your workers. That's what the little workers are for, and you put them on that little city or castle or whatever it is. This one here, this is to do with the tomes or the books or whatever it is. And I think that's what those little ink pots, they were ink pots, weren't they, for as well. So with all of these things, you can use the icons, but I think you can also use those other resources to sort of help pay for these. So you can either pay an ink pot, or you can pay a little cross symbol, or you can pay a gold bar, or a little, what's that, a fleur de lis or whatever it's called, hammer or stone, money or money bag, to pay for the cost of that action. And in this case, I haven't explained this, but this is the books. I think you go around, and I think you have a stack of books on here, and you can basically buy the book for, however many cross or ink pots you've got here. Let's have a look. And then after you've done that, then you can choose to buy a character on the spot that you're near as well. And then I think you draw back up to your hand size and go again, sort of thing. Yeah, so that's the player boards. They're all identical. So again, all the players are sort of the same, but the variability, the difference between player powers and things like that comes through how you build your deck. So every game you sort of can tailor that to a different sort of style. So that's quite cool. Lots of replayability. And this is interesting. This is the solo board. So this is the board you would put out for Automo players. And that's quite cool because you can, it's pretty well explained actually. It's, plays very sort of similarly, but they have their own deck, and this sort of gives them, this first spot here actually tells you what to start, like what starting resources and positions the Automo player has. I think it even tells you to sort of get rid of some cards from its deck or whatever. But what's interesting is that's different. So they've actually got like 4 different player boards and 4 different solo characters, I guess, because if you look, these are sort of different starting positions here, and this little symbol up here, I think is sort of like it's what its main goal is. So this is like this character wants to, I think, draw lots of cards and maybe flip a lot of cards. So like it wants to be like really cycling through that deck and getting lots of debt and deed cards as well. Whereas this one wants to do the what was it called? The tomes or the manuscripts, I think they're called. So the manuscript action. So it wants to buy a lot of the books and sort of like build sets of those, because I think there's like a set collection point scoring aspect to that as well. So, and I'm sure another one might want to build lots of buildings, and I guess the other one would be, I guess they sort of go off these, don't they? So cards, the castle or the wall or whatever. So this, yeah, so you'd probably have one that tries to build the wall, one that tries to build buildings, one that buys lots of books, and one that's just trying to like collect lots of cards and burn through the card deck, I'm guessing. So yeah, that's those are the player boards. But I like how they've added a lot of variability there, just with the way they've designed the game. So they've got a nice board here that doesn't need player powers, because the characters, the players can sort of build those themselves. But then with the solo boards, they've made use of the 4 different boards here by creating 4 different characters. So that gives you sort of more replayability there. You know, you can play against the builder one time and then play against the cleric another time, sort of thing, I guess. So yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so I've just laid the board out here, and they just sort of like sit next to each other. It's entirely possible I haven't put this together in the right order. There might be a specific order, but it also, I've got a feeling it looks like, if you look at the artwork, it sort of lets you match it up wherever you put it. So you might be able to sort of rearrange how these go, and that might change the game from game to game. Whoop. Giant cat invades the land. All right, we need to put a castle right there, buddy, where you're standing. Thanks, Diego. All right. I'll line this back up again. And let's get this city in place. So you probably noticed there were those little holes there for the pegs from underneath these towers here, and that sort of holds it in place pretty well, actually. It's not really sliding around too much. A little bit of give there, but that's pretty good. Okay, yeah, so I'm not going to put the others in yet because I haven't really read to see if there's a specific order they're supposed to go in, but I've just placed this central piece in, and you can see, yeah, it just slots right down into there. So yeah, interesting. All right, so that's what the board looks like. We haven't looked at the cards, and these are often some of the most sort of fun parts about these games, and especially with the artwork of the Miko. So let's check these out too. All right, so with the magic of YouTube, I've already sleeved all the cards here, and that's given me a bit of time to sort of investigate them a bit and be able to explain them a bit better. So these are the basic sort of character cards that you can pick up from traveling around the board. So there's a whole stack of them here. So you have lots of different characters, and essentially the breakdown is this is the cost here to purchase them, but it also gives you sort of a movement bonus. It gives you, so when you play this character as your active character for the turn, it gives you the movement for that character. It also gives you a little symbol here, so they have different symbols that you can use for purchasing different actions. So if this character is sitting in your tableau, it contributes 3 of these bags, and the bags can be used to purchase things or do the trading action. Whereas if you're doing the building action, you'd be looking for characters to have a lot of these hammer symbols here. And so every character that has sort of a hammer symbol in your tableau would contribute that, and then you can use that to pay for different building constructions. So they each have a cost. They have a little icon that's sort of like an always in play sort of icon for them. Then they have different abilities down the bottom here. So this is an instant. So when this one sort of enters your tableau, it allows you to get this bonus here, which is like a virtue point. And then you can actually dismiss these characters, so you can pay to get rid of them off the top of a deck, and which is that little arrow symbol there, little triangle. When you do that, you also get this bonus in the top corner, as well as when you just pick up this card, when you draw this card, you also get this one-off bonus here too. So each of the characters has a little one-off bonus that you get when you either dismiss them or purchase them. They add some sort of a symbol to your tableau, and they have a range of powers here. So this was an instant power that you get sort of one-off when it comes into the tableau. This one, while it's in your tableau, you get this sort of ongoing effect. I'll just see if I can find, and this is I think they call it the drop-off effect here. So this character, when this character leaves your tableau, because remember they go across the row of cards there at the bottom of your player board, you get this bonus. So this bonus only triggers when it leaves your tableau. It's sort of like the opposite of the instant effects which occur. Oops, see if I can find one. Sort of occur at the when they enter your tableau. So that's these cards. So these are like the neutral characters. These are the ones that just make up the majority of the deck. And then you also have, when you start the game as your player color, so this is the yellow players cards here, you start with the deck. I think it's about 8 of these cards, and these are like the generic basic cards. So everyone starts with the same deck, and then as you start to add characters to your deck, you can sort of differentiate how your deck works. So there's that deck building aspect to the game. And then when you start the game, similar to sort of a lot of games that have a variable starting position, I guess, it's created in this game by choosing a character. So essentially you lay out these characters that are sort of like hero cards, and these sort of might give you a bit of a direction that you want to head in because of their abilities, potentially, and the icons that they have on them. So you put a number of these out per the number of players, I think, in the game, +1, and then people can basically go through and take turns sort of picking the characters. But besides the characters, and these, apart from that, they just work like other characters in the game. You also place out these player cards, and these give you sort of starting resources and like a starting position on the board as well. So when you come to choose your character, you have to pick a pair. So you'd pick either this character and its player card, this character and its player card, or this one and this one. And then, you know, as the players go through and pick them, there's less options, and then I think there's always like one spare left over. What else have we got here? The solo mode, it has this deck here. So you've got a card here that just sort of reminds you about some of the costs and some of the bonuses that the solo mode or the solo player gets, the Automa. And then you also have this deck of cards, and this is like their schemes, or tells you what they do in their actions. All right, and okay, these cards are interesting. These are the prosperity, and there's a card under here, the poverty card, and these are used to house the deed and debt cards, but they also act as game end triggers. So this is how the game ends. You basically stack a number of these cards as shown here by the player count on top of the card, and then you put the others underneath the stack there. I don't know if you can see that. And then essentially, as these get drawn off the top of the deck into players' tableaus, they get lower and lower. And then once the card is revealed, once all of these run out, that triggers the end of the game. So then you finish that round, and then you do one more round, and then that's the end of the game. And essentially, so what it does is that, and it is possible for both of these to, especially if you sort of get that extra round, it is possible if both of them are going down sort of evenly, that both of them by the end of the whole thing will be revealed. But if they are revealed, then if the sort of the kingdom ends in prosperity, then the person who has the most debt cards, but it's debt cards that have been flipped, the person with the most flipped debt cards gets a point bonus here, and then the person with the second most gets the next points, and so on and so on. So it's interesting that they sort of kind of work oppositely there. Yeah, that's an interesting little sort of mechanic, and also an interesting way to sort of drive the end of the game. So those are the cards. There's a couple other cards like some resource multipliers and things like that. But yeah, that's the majority of the cards there. Let's have a look at this Tome Saga, because some of you may be watching this interested to see how this sort of affects your previous games, because you probably already own, or you may already own, Paladins of the West Kingdom and Architects of the West Kingdom. So here we go. Components, Tome Saga campaign, Architects co-op scenario, Paladins co-op, Viscounts co-op, more baggies, More components. Interesting. That's interesting. I wonder what that's for. Part of the campaign or something, maybe, or the co-op. Reach level 3 of the cathedral. Maybe little goals or missions. I'm sort of hesitant to show too much of that because I'm not sure if it's meant to be a surprise. Like a campaign, with a campaign style thing. I don't want to give too much away there, I guess. I don't think it's meant to be legacy, but still. Okay, interesting. Some little overlays for the different game boards. King's Storehouse. Looks like some sort of cooperative element there. Some sort of board here. This might be for the overall campaign, it looks like. Maybe because you played that, maybe this sort of represents the 3 different games or something. Interesting. Or again, I could just be making that up. I have no idea what these boards are actually for. Mini deck of cards here. All right. And all right, let's have a look. Emma and Judith. And hold on. Oh yeah, and they're on the back side here too. I was going to say, weren't there 4 of them? Mirovich. So it looks like normally with these characters you get one, and it's got like a basic side and then a special rule side. So this looks like it's just 4 characters on 2 sheets. So they're all like, these are just characters you would use if you're playing with special player powers. So Mirovich, Judith, and these special rules will mean something too if you've played those. Okay, so that's the Tome Saga. So yeah, looks like a lot of content there, which is pretty cool for all 3 of those games. So that was Viscounts of the West Kingdom. I hope you guys enjoyed that bit of a rambling look there through the contents. But yeah, definitely a very popular game, and this looks like just as good components as the previous one. So hopefully the gameplay stands up as well. So, all right, well, thanks guys. Have a great one, and see you next time on the next unboxing. Thanks guys.